Hey loves, so you can kind of peek at the mess that I have here on the side of my desk. But I have to do my setup for the week, and I figured I would take you along with me. Um, I have to do my little trackers for the media and the journals in the M5, which is what you see here with little Luffy. And then I have to set up my tan as well, which is my daily log journal. So I figured I could take you along with me for that little ride. It's gonna be a short video, I'm pretty sure. I don't have much to do. As I'm recording this, it is 5:47 in the morning. So this is my little tracker. I have to finish it for the week, but every week I do this. And on the back, I've been adding my first songs just to have the list somewhere that I can reference later. And yeah, as of right now, I've been sticking this in the Hobonichi cousin, but I was considering now that I have the I keep wanting to call it a passport, but the pocket rings. I keep thinking about maybe adding it in here instead, but for now I'm gonna continue doing it in the Hobonichi cousin. But yeah, so I have to do that, and then the tan I have to set up my week in here, and then I have to do my gratitude list for the morning, and I think that's it. I think that's all I can think of, at least as of right now. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll take you over into the top view. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go into my media log and just confirm what it is that I watched and such. I have to take off this pen loop because look at how crusty. Oh, it just finished breaking. Okay, definitely have to cut it off. Okay, so I just cut it off using my scissors really fast there. I have to actually go in with my seam ripper and take this little section off, but I will do, actually, you know what? I probably might not because I don't want to mess with the actual seam in the journal. So I might just like trim this up a little bit better later. But I don't have time for that right now, so we're gonna move on. Okay, so yeah, let me go ahead and check what it is that I did last week in media so that I can know. So I did watch movies on Friday, so let me go ahead and highlight that. Oh, that's two, so. Okay. And I don't think did I do any media yesterday? Okay, so where's my ballpoint? Here it is. Okay, so we watched a movie on Thursday. We watched movies on Saturday. I think that's the most movies I've watched in a while. Okay, we did watch TV on Friday. And then there was definitely music these days. I don't think I listened to, yes, I did listen to music yesterday, so I can do that. Okay, I did my list yesterday for the first time the whole week. I don't think I did my cousin that day. I think I was in here that day. I didn't end up using the M5 for the rest of did I use the M5? I technically did on Saturday. And then I didn't use the weeks. So that's that. I'll go in and add the colors later. So this I go and add it into my cousin, which I guess I'll show that at the end. Actually, I like keeping it here so that I can reference it for the next week. Okay. And I'm just using, I don't think I've mentioned it here before, but I'm just using scraps from an old TN. So like a horizontal weekly from last year. The spreads that I didn't end up using, I just cut them up and then I'm using the grid on the side. So reuse, recycle, guys. I totally lied. Yesterday, I watched Desperate Housewives. I have to add that to the log. Oh goodness. So the story goes that my mom would watch Desperate Housewives growing up, along with like other shows like Grey's Anatomy, Brothers and Sisters, like all those ABC shows, and it's like one of those shows that I relate to her. And yesterday I had a migraine, but throughout the day I started feeling a little bit better, but not well enough to like actually do things. And I wanted to watch something that I didn't feel I needed to pay a lot of attention to. And I thought, okay, why not? Because I came across it on Disney Plus, and y'all, I'm hooked. I'm hooked. I watched 6 episodes yesterday, or 5 or 6 episodes. Season 1, episode 1. I will say though, it pisses me off. The men in that show, honestly, are just I want to come for every single one of their throats. And I think that's the point. I'm hoping that's the point because, geezums, music. And this show is from 2004. Like, it first started in, I think it was 2004, yeah. So it's an old show. I feel like I shouldn't even put the weeks in here because I'm not currently using that one, but I am going to, just to see, you know, if I do end up going back into it, when that's going to be. Okay. And then I go in and add the 1st and 2 date, which today is the 19th. It is Monday, the 19th. Let's go ahead and add that. And the week ends on the 25th. There we go. And then what I do is I've been using my Deco Rush for One Piece and just adding a little in the middle because I haven't been using it. So here's a way for me to use it. Look at Zoro, isn't he cute? And that's my tracker for the week. So I just put that in here. And so, like, for example, today I have already worked in the M5. So I'll do that. And I'll usually have him here on the side open so that I can see it. And so here's what I was thinking, right? I could potentially just kind of like clip this onto one of the days because it definitely fits inside the passport. I don't know. That's an option, I guess. Let me just go ahead and there we go. Okay. And now we are on to the next week. And I just added this paper in for like blotting purposes, but I'll probably figure out a better way to do that later. And I was thinking I could potentially add like a sticker up here, but I haven't 100% decided that. Let me add the colors. So One Piece, One Piece, One Piece. I'm finally back to watching One Piece a little regularly. I had taken a break because I was dreading having to go through Sanji's backstory. I knew it was going to wreck me, and it really did. So it took me a little longer to get through, but I think I'm back on my One Piece shenanigans. I also am just getting to the point, right, where every One Piece fan, they start off being like, yeah, there's too much One Piece. And then you get to, I think, this point in the series, and you're like, oh no, I'm quickly running out of episodes. And that's kind of sad. So I've done the backlog, just as a little update. I've done the backlog here for a couple of weeks. I think I've made it to February. Yeah. So here, yeah, I've made it to February 9th, and I'm really liking it. I think it's cute. I like that it's compact. I like seeing it all in one place. I tried this week adding the first song on the top, and I think I am going to do that pretty consecutively. I have to go in and actually add those to these weeks, but I left the space for it. So that's what I'm planning on doing moving forward. I didn't really leave space here because I hadn't decided that at that point, but you can see I left the space on this. Well, maybe not this one, but yeah. So that's the media log for now. And then let me go ahead and add this into the cousin. So with the cousin, it's really simple. I just go in and I'm like so close to cutting this loop off, guys. I've realized that I don't like them. I don't very much like them. I did do some things in here. I cut up my TN that I was using at the beginning of the year for daily logging and added it in here just as a little impromptu update. So yeah, you can see here I just like tip it in at some point in the weekly pages. Okay. So I think I'm gonna tip it in there on this week. I usually tip it in this little corner, but last week, since I had this cute little design, I tipped it in a little lower. but I do usually do it on the little side here. And then I'll just put a little glue dot there. Oop. And there. And that way it's glued on, but I can like move it over, see? And then you can see the first songs here that I can then use to reference in my my collections page. Where is it? I usually tab them, but I haven't today. I haven't tabbed April's. I'm sorry, May's. So I have a collection of all the first songs that I can just have in one place. So that's what I use for that. And then let's go ahead and move these into the next week. And this is just a blotter paper that I move wherever I'm at, whatever I've written, I just put it in. Okay. And then, yeah, that's the week. I didn't end up doing my journaling on these days, so I'll probably just leave it empty. And instead of backlogging, kind of like what I'm trying to kind of go for is that being consistent in my journals doesn't necessarily mean it being a consistent thing that I'm journaling. It's just making sure that I'm in here all the time, right? And that I continue on with my creative practice, whichever way that manifests. Like you can see this week, I did do the full week, but I've had other weeks where, like this one, where I just did a couple and then I have space for me to journal later. And then there's some weeks where I didn't do it at all. Oh, I love this week. This is still the best week, where it's just full of fan art. So I'm just kind of letting myself exist in my journals however it is that I want to exist in them, instead of forcing myself into a set aesthetic, which is particularly difficult for me because I am one of those people that likes to have a pretty consistent aesthetic within the pages. But I think the fact too that now I've made this kind of like a Frankenstein journal where I put it in rings, I'm able to add things and remove things. I think that helps a little bit with my notion of like, kind of just letting myself do whatever I want to do in here. But yeah, so, okay, there's nothing else I really need to do in here as of right now. I usually do kind of like the highlights of the day at the end of the day is what I've been doing, kind of like as a checkout. What I might do since I'm already in here, I really like the stamps here on top. But yeah, I'll do that later because I think I want to do that every day instead of like predating it, which I have considered because it's easier to just predate it. I've just decided to kind of make it part of my morning practice to date them. So that's fine. Okay, so that's that. And okay. So that's the cousin for now. And then next thing I need to set up is the tan, which the tan is also on the chopping block in terms of me cutting it up and putting it into rings. But for now, I've decided to put off on that. I am going to stamp every single day. No, I keep going back and forth again between stamping every single day, just right off the bat, or doing it every morning. Because I feel like on a good day, I do it. But then on a bad day, I'm like annoyed. Which I feel is normal. But like, for example, Katie, she has this thing where she has like, what her routines are on a good day and like the different energy levels and what's like the bare minimum win. And I think that that's something I also would like to consider, especially as someone, with chronic pain, with a very busy schedule, with depression and anxiety. I need to recognize that on a good day, that's amazing, but I also have to have systems in place for when maybe the day isn't as great, and I still want to show up in my journals. So that's something that I've been thinking about lately, and that's why I kind of keep going back and forth between this notion of like, pre-dating and not doing that. And I feel like whenever I do something ahead of time, aside from decorating, which I love doing, I love pre-decorating my pages, like with stickers and washi. But when I like set up a layout specifically ahead of time, especially weeks in advance, I feel like it just makes me feel stuck. And I don't like that, which again, going back to like this notion of consistency, not necessarily being me showing up in the same way every single week, just making sure that I show up. I feel like that's something that I am realizing is really, really important to me. I'm gonna pick out a washi tape, so bear with me right quick. I thought I had used this washi in here already, but I guess I hadn't. This was sent to me in a happy mail to my P.O. box. And I love it. Okay, so we're gonna do it at the 7 instead of at the 8. Where's my ruler? Oh goodness, I don't know where my other ruler is, so let's use this Bakudeko one. I decided to go back to this kind of delineating line thing again this week because I just like it. And if I want to, why not, right? Okay, this is a little slanted. Why not? I think a lot of times, I particularly am like, man, why do I want to have the same thing in different places? But I feel like there are certain things, like for example, my media journal stuff. There are different things that I like seeing within different context. And there are things that I don't like having to repeat myself about. And I just have to figure out what those things are. And just because I don't like some things doesn't mean I don't like other things. So, like, when it comes to the weather and stuff like that, and like, I enjoy seeing it in the context of my daily log. And I also enjoy seeing it in the context of like a table. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but I decided to just re-add the little delineating line to be able to have it because I like how it looks on the spread. I really like how it breaks up this page. And let's see. Actually, I'm going to add this bit too. Let's add it to the media log. Right? Not, right? Why not? You know me, I have to always add some deco to things. And I really like sort of this notion. I think I mentioned it in another video, maybe my last techo time, or it might have been a Patreon video, but this notion of like, no, I definitely did it in a, did I? The struggle of having a Patreon and making content that's exclusive is that you never know, or at least I never know, what content is what I've talked about in a public forum and what I've talked about on, you know, the membership site. This idea of having kind of like since I have different journals, having those decorative elements repeat for the week or the month or what have you, so that there's some visual consistency within the spreads and you can right off of the bat, without even looking at the dates, kind of know when things kind of go together. Okay, so I am gonna add my little dates in here. I think next time I'm gonna print these a little smaller. I normally like this size because of where I usually put it, which is in the vertical weeklies. But since I already had one for the vertical weeklies, I think I'm gonna do these. I mean, you can print them whatever size you want. These are part of my printables, which are still available. These are April printables. Just a little heads up. Not April printables, May printables. Those are available through Sweet Treats still in the month of May if you're watching this. But later on, they will be available through Secret Handshake Club, which is the $12 a month, which has access to all the archive of the printables that have been released so far in 2024 and 2025. So check that out if you're interested. But you can print them in any size. They're created at a bigger size so that you can, you know, it's always easier to size down and not have any quality issues than to size up. So, but I did print them at this size because it's normally the size I go for. And I think next time, if I make some similar ones, I'm going to print them to be a little smaller. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp for today, which is the 19th. And something I've been doing, where is it? I need to get another one because I want one to live in the passport. I keep wanting to call it passport, in the pocket. I've been adding the TN pencil board to this to help with the stamping because it's thicker than the Hobonichi. I feel like the Hobonichi one is good just for writing, but like with stamping specifically, it doesn't give a sturdy enough backing with stamps. There we go. And then actually, since I already stamped that, let me stamp my little thing for the list, which is my gratitude list, which I've decided to add into, you can't really see because of the glare, into this one. So I've moved my work stuff into, okay, now here is where I am, do I want to, my original idea to do in here was to have the list on one side and like a collage on the back, but I could also potentially just have the collages separately. I don't want to, again, constrain myself to a specific layout that then will be difficult for me to keep up with when I'm not feeling the best. So I think I'm just going to keep the list to the list, as I have been doing, and then have the collage in a second section of it. And then once I'm done stamping, this is something I learned through Japanese videos, as a lot of the new changes in my system have been inspired by Japanese journaling videos, like quite heavily. And I saw someone using a kneaded eraser for like cleaning off their stamps after they're done, and I thought it was brilliant. And I'd never realized that, so that's what I've been doing lately. Cool. So then let's go ahead and put this in here. Okay, so then that's ready for me to do my gratitude list when I am ready to do that. I need to put a blotting paper here again. Let me just use this divider. Boop, boop. Okay, and then that's it for, oh, I wanted to add stickers. Hold on. Just a couple of them, because since I have these bigger ones, they kind of take up space. She's so cute. I want to use these. These are gifted to me by Maddie. So cute. Apparently this week's deco is girls. I usually like picking a sticker sheet to kind of like theme it, but I guess this week I just want to use some of my girl stickers, which I haven't in a while. So, oh, let me just actually have you on screen so that you actually see what I'm doing. Cute. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. Okay, so I think that's all I'm gonna do for this one for this week as of right now, and that way it can keep growing. As the week goes on, I can add more stickers. I like pre-decorating, but I like leaving space as well for it to grow organically, and I think that's how I get that kind of like look that a lot of you guys have mentioned in the comments, that kind of it's like this chaotic, very dynamic, lively spread. I think that's probably why that happens. But yeah, I think that's all I got for this morning. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that it was a good insight into my, kind of like setup for the week, and that you were able to use the video for company. If you've made it this far, go ahead and add a animal emoji, like a dog or a cat, whichever one your favorite animal emoji is. And that way we know that you're part of the end of video crew. And if you are interested in watching another video where I kind of go through what my daily process is in my journals, you can watch the most recent techo time before this one that I'll leave linked right here. Thank you so much for watching again, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, guys!